Hi, I'm Danny,
I'm Val,
and this is Playing Favorites.
where we talk about our favorite board games.
And today, we're talking about Clank, a deck-building adventure. This is one of our absolute favorite games. We actually bust this out all the time. This is the one that we're always bringing to the table for new gamers and people who've been playing board games for a while. All right, Val, what do you like about Clank?
I love that it's a deck builder. I really enjoy playing those. I also really enjoy the replayability. This game never gets stale. There's always something new, something fun, from how you are building your deck to what is actually on the board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And I think even the first several plays that you do, you're not going to make it all the way through the dungeon deck. So there will be surprises your first several plays through. And then when you get done with this side of the board, you can flip it over and there's a whole different arrangement. It's a little bit more difficult, but it offers you all of that just in the box already. I also really love the theming. I'm a sucker for fantasy. I'm a sucker for art. And I also love deck building games. I think there are kind of shared favorite between that and worker placement.
I think that the humor on the cards are also pretty fun. Everything's really tied together, and it makes you feel like you're really living that story of that dungeon crawler experience. So the object of the game is to get in, steal an artifact from the dragon Nikki, and get out and be the player with the most points. You want to take us through the board?
Sure. Okay, so the board is divided into two major pieces. So the whole thing is the dungeon, but the top half is just dungeon. Lower half is known as the depths. You don't want to die in the depths. There's also a rage track here for the dragon, and the angrier she is, the more cubes we're going to pull from the bag. So that's bad news. Down here we have health trackers for all the players. If you reach the skull, you die. Also on the board, there are all the little rooms that you can travel to, all of the different tunnels. Hearts are healing. If you pass through, you're able to take 1 damage off of yourself. The crystal caverns are going to force you to stop moving. On top of that, we also have the market. So if you go to the market, any of these 4 squares, you can buy these items. So keys, backpacks, and crowns. All of them give you points, but a couple of them, the keys and the backpack, also give you additional benefits. The keys allow you to pass through these locked areas on the board, and the backpack allows you to carry an extra artifact. Normally you can only carry 1. So it's it's worth buying. So we've already set up, there's plenty of tutorials out there on how to set up the board. We're just gonna skip that and just talk about the gameplay and how stuff works. We're gonna be pretty loosey-goosey with it, so don't assume this is how every turn is gonna look.
Now let's go over the rules.
Okay, we're gonna have Val play a sample turn with the starting deck here. So she's gonna draw 5 cards. She's gonna play those 5 cards. And so right now, she has two stumbles. So stumbles generate Clank. Clank's gonna go on that banner there and it's gonna sit there for a bit. Now she's got 3 burgles with which she can buy items from the store down here. So all she can afford, you can look at the costs on the bottom right here. She can afford either an explorer, a mercenary, which are always available over here. And then she can afford swagger.
I'm gonna take a swagger.
Good call. All right, so now swagger is going to go to her discard. Any card you gain is going to move over to your discard. And now that she's played all of her cards, those are also going to go to her discard. She'll draw back up to 5 cards. Now, if at any point she didn't have enough to deal out that hand, she'd deal as many as she could, then shuffle up the discard and draw up to 5. But now her turn is over, so we have to replenish this dungeon row area, and we've now flipped a monster. So this is an ogre, and unfortunately, that means the dragon is going to attack because it's got that Nikki symbol on it. So her Clank is going to go into the bag. It's going to get shaken up, shaken up, shaken up, shaken up. With the other, there are 20 black cubes in here as well. So basically, as long as she doesn't draw her own, she's not going to take damage. So right now she's lucky, but those black cubes are going to stay out of the bag. So eventually it'll be whittled down, and we're drawing 3.
Because that's what Nikki's on.
Yes.
Unfortunately, this turn I didn't draw any boots in my hand, so that meant I couldn't move. Okay, so then Danny's gonna go ahead and draw 5 cards.
Oh, wow.
And it's all familiar cards. He drew a stumble, so that's 1 Clank. And he has 4 burgles, which has 4 skill points. And he could actually afford more than I could.
Yeah.
So you could buy Elven Boots, you could buy Search.
I'll buy a pickaxe.
Or pickaxe.
So a pickaxe will give me 2, whenever this card is played, it'll give me 2 attack, and I'll get 2 gold. which is great because you need gold to buy anything from the market. I think that's good for example turns. I think we can talk through some of the other things we might have missed earlier.
Okay, so there are large artifacts that you are actually working to get, right? So there's these values. Each of them have a varying type of value. So anywhere from 5 to 30 points that you want to get and get out with before you die in the dungeon. And then you also have these tokens that are along the way. So these are big secrets, these are little secrets. And as you pass through those rooms, you will pick those up with no issue as long as you're able to be in that room. Mm-hmm. Yeah, did I miss anything?
Yeah, the only note about the small secrets is in order to get both of them, you would have to enter the room, leave the room, and enter the room again to get both. Because generally you're just kind of grabbing it as you're running through, because this is a race. You're trying to be the best thief, and lollygagging is not going to be in your best interest necessarily, unless you just want a bunch of cool stuff.
Can we talk strategy real quick?
Sure.
All right, so what I would do is not want to, I would be tempted to come to this 30, but I know that path looks really dangerous. So perhaps you might want to come to the market, pick up a backpack so that you're able to take up 2 smaller artifacts and get out fast.
Another thing on the board are the crystal caverns. Now those will stop your movement. So say you even had 5 boots, you had all the boots in the world. Unfortunately, if you have to pass by a crystal cavern, you're gonna be stuck there for the rest of your turn. No more movement. You can still take all of your other actions, you're just stuck. And if you pass through any of these rooms with the hearts, you get to heal 1 damage off of yourself, which is pretty nice. They're a little out of the way sometimes, but very necessary at other times. You'll find that as the game goes on and more of these black cubes are removed from the bag, you're gonna feel that stress because you're gonna have so many of your Clank cubes in that bag, it's just a matter of time. So you're gonna wanna get as much as you can to heal yourself or to speed your way out of the dungeon once you're able to get whatever artifacts you need.
At some point in the game is actually out against you, right? So you're gonna have moments where you're gonna see this little plus symbol come up, and that means you're going to pull more than what's on the rage tracker. So in this instance, since the dragon shrine is out, we're gonna pull 1 extra cube each time that the dragon attacks.
And speaking of stealing artifacts, every time an artifact is grabbed by a player, Nikki notices and she gets mad, so she increases her space on the rage track. Same thing if you're able to pull a dragon egg, which is one of the little secrets. It gives you points, which is great, but it also makes her mad because you're stealing her baby, you monster. So the first player who is able to get their artifact and get out safely not only gets a mastery token, which is worth 20 points, they will move their meeple over to this side and they're going to take control of the dragon attacking. So this is in addition to any end of turn attacks that would normally happen at end of round. But basically, instead of taking a turn, every time they're gonna slide over. So first they'll draw 1 extra cube, then 2 extra cubes, then 3 extra cubes, and then everyone else who is left is dead. And we talked about not wanting to die in the depths earlier. If you die in the depths, you get no points. All that work for nothing. So you wanna get your stuff and get out, because as long as you're above the grass line, you get to keep your points. But you don't get those bonus points unless you make it all the way out with your artifact.
And that's the game.
Some final thoughts on Clank. I love this game so much. I think it's so fun, it's so silly, it's really well designed, it's intuitive, everything functions the way you kind of expect it to once it starts rolling. The other nice thing is there's so much replayability in the box itself, but they've also created so many expansions. So if ever, it's never happened, I still have the expansions, but if you ever get bored, you're not gonna, because there's all these other options that you can add in. There's different boards, there's different elements, there's different rule sets that get applied the more you play. So there's lots of places to go with Clank. And if you're interested in legacy games, they've also come out with a legacy iteration of Clank that follows the Acquisitions Incorporated team, which is a hilarious D&D thing if you're unaware.
So there's a lot of replayability, and that's really the fun part of it, right? For me, I'm a lazy player in the sense of if I've learned a mechanic, I want to master that mechanic, and I'll go to the nth degree. So where it comes into deck building games, I completely understand how to build my deck, and the more you go through it, the more familiar you are there, and the more you could use it to your own advantage.
And that's Clank.
So give it a play.
Yeah. Hey, if you liked what you saw, please give us a thumbs up. And if you want to see the next videos as they come out, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you have any questions, leave those in the comments. We're more than happy to answer those. I love talking games, so let me know. And if you'd like to see us talk about a specific game, let us know as well. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you check out all of the other shows here on Perception Studio, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.